Right, champs, we've entered the next season of the creator economy and the rules are changing fast. And in 2025, you've got a choice to make. Are you going to play this online business game on easy mode or hard mode? And it all comes down to just one thing. Are you going to build trust with your audience in 2025 or not? Over the past few years, we've seen a new disease spread across creators with huge audiences on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. It's called broke influencer syndrome. Creators who have massive amounts of followers, but zero trust built with them, so they're broke. Fortunately, there is a solution, and that solution is more content. But not just any content, it's long form content like this. So welcome to part 5 of a 6-part mini-series where I'm sharing with you the lessons that I've learned from building a business from 0 to over 50K in a month over the past 12 months without funnels, without cold outreach, and without sales calls. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 yet, you're probably wondering who the f is this outrageously attractive, ludicrously well-mannered black and white British stud is. So make sure to go watch those videos first to find out who the heck I am. You can check them out here. Now you might be wondering, why should you listen to me? Well, firstly, you shouldn't. Don't ever listen to strange men on the internet. But I have just passed 1 million views on my YouTube channel. However, it's not about the volume of views, it's about the quality of the viewers who get them. Now, most weeks I get a DM on Instagram saying something along the lines of, I just binged your YouTube channel over the weekend. What's the next step to work together? Now, it's the difference between having to sell and having leads who are already pre-sold. And this is what allows me to have enough leverage to not have to do sales calls anymore. So if you like the sound of that, here's what I'm going to cover in this video. First, why long form content is no longer a nice to have, but a must have in 2025. Secondly, the secret formula the biggest creators use to build niche audiences of hyperfans, and the simple framework that I use to pre-sell and convert followers into dollars. So if you're ready to make some next level online business gains in 2025, let's dive in. Okay, champs, so it actually starts with asking this one question: what is the dream outcome? And the dream outcome comes from understanding that there are actually 2 stages of conversion. There is pre-selling and then there is selling. And I'll tell you what the difference is. So the difference is, if you're a creator and you've been on sales calls before, if you've been on calls where you've spoken to them about stuff, you've done some discovery, and then all of a sudden at the end, you're like, okay, so where do you want to take it from here? And they go, yeah, so can you explain to me how it works? And then you have to then pitch them and explain to them and really ultimately give them no reasons why they can say no. And that is really fucking hard to do. So it's the difference between that and essentially what happens with me now is that people just send me a DM saying, I'm in, and how do I pay? And hopefully we can agree that that is pretty good dream outcome. And let's give you an example of this. So this is one of my clients, Dan. He doesn't have a huge YouTube channel, but he had a sales call with a prospect who'd seen one of his webinars, and he said he mentioned seeing his YouTube channel and watching a video, and he booked a call. And this was a video which had 22 views, and Dan got a £2,500 pay in full, which is about $3,000 on his most watched video of 22 views. That's the beauty and the leverage of long form content, and why it's a critical component of our one simple flywheel, which helps get people who are within our flywheel to become clients, and people who we then help actually get a transformation with. And that's why I love the flywheel so much more than this BS, because with this BS, you never get that. You got the question all the time, so can you explain to me how it works on sales calls? And then you've got to pitch people, and that's how you end up working with dicks who just are not a good fit. Ain't about that life. Okay, and it's the difference really between sales-based conversion, where you have to have loads of sales calls, you need high amount of volume, so it's all about lead volume, compared to marketing-based conversion, which is all about nurturing people over time so that people can just essentially say, okay, yeah, I'm just ready now. Here's why you should be excited to start posting on YouTube. So YouTube has just become the #1 streaming platform in the world. So it's beaten Netflix, and it's now takes up more than 10% of people watching stuff on TV, which is an amazing thing for you because it gives you one more chance to get in front of people when they're just chilling out. Okay, so you should be excited because we're currently in a trust recession when it comes to buying stuff online. So this is the trust index. Some nerds have clearly put this together, but as you can see, we're just going on this kind of like general decline over time. So this was back in 2004, just after the dot-com boom, and we're kind of down here now. You can see that trust has dropped by about 25% over the last like nearly 20 years now. And Google actually came out with a study. They did a study. They looked at nearly 30 years of buying data, and they found that before someone buys from you, they need to, on average, spend 7 hours engaging with your brand across 11 different points of engagement and across 4 separate locations of contact. That is why we have a flywheel where you can have 1, 2, 3, and then finally 4 pieces of contact with a client. Now, the key to this is understanding that it can take months or even years for a prospect to actually warm up enough to buy from you. And so the big idea that I want to get across here is this idea of out of 100 leads, 50% of them ain't ever going to buy stuff from you, okay? They are never, ever, ever going to buy stuff from you. And that's cool. That's absolutely amazing. But the other 50% will buy from you. The problem is you have no idea when. So 15% of them, and these are just like complete ballpark numbers, 15% might buy at some point now within the next few days and weeks. But then the other 85%, it can take from between 90 days to 2+ years before they've built up enough trust to actually want to work with you. And the idea here is the difference between funnels and flywheels is that in flywheels, we want to build a pipeline of perfect future clients, and we put them onto our hot list. And when they are on our hot list, then our job is just to be there when it's now. What we're gonna do is over that course from 0 to 2 years, we are gonna ask people at different points, we're just gonna say, hey, is the time right now? And eventually they're gonna raise their hand like all these little nerds down here, and we are gonna be there to say, well, sick, let's get to work then. Big idea here is that in our flywheel system, it's about just being there when it's now and being totally cool with the fact that it might be tomorrow and it might be in 2 years. And that is amazing either way. This is what the biggest creators in the world do. They build their reciprocity bank account. This is a goodwill bank account where they are making deposits every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, with long form videos, which are super, super valuable. So guys like Hormozi, guys like Gaji, guys like Ali Abdal, and guys like Dan Coe, who I haven't connected with Dan, but I've heard he's like kind of like the same, you know, like that Hasbulla guy, like he's around the same kind of like size as him, which is honestly kind of weird. Kind of funny, the other day when I was making this whiteboard, I got a notification on my YouTube channel, and it was a notification from one of the absolute king of the nerds, Ali. So shout out. If you're watching this, there's a high chance you're not, but thank you very much for the comment, man. From another former kind of like medical professional. Very, very appreciative and glad you like the vibes. Ali is, by the way, the reason why I'm here doing this. Like, he was the one who taught me how to do editing and video editing like 5 years ago. So shout out, man. Okay, it's now easier than ever, guys. It is even easier than ever to start a YouTube channel. I'm gonna give you an example here. So this is my like recommended page, okay? And on the recommended page, the first recommendation is this video from Austin, who is one of my clients. So I subscribe to his YouTube channel, but I'm getting sent his stuff ahead of people who I also subscribe to, like Chris Williamson and Tim Ferriss and Blondish, who's weirdly also connected with me. She dropped me a DM on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, one of the biggest DJs in the world who I've been following for years. And my client Austin is getting recommended ahead of all of these guys, as well as Christopher. And Christopher, I have absolutely no fucking clue who Christopher is. But Christopher's got only 193 views on this video, and maybe it's something to do with the algorithm thinking I'm alone and I need to watch videos about being alone. But my point is that the algorithm is showing new creators to new audiences more than ever before. It's easier than ever. And so Austin here, you know, he's got 5,000 subscribers on his channel, and you know, he just collected $19,000 the other day in a single day. I think he's just got past 30K this month. And then Steven, he's only got 1,000 subscribers. He made $32,000 last month. So he's crushing it with a small audience. We've got Nick over here. He's got 6,000 subs on YouTube, and he just passed 30K this month as well. So you don't need huge audiences. That's the beauty of this. You just need to start and be consistent. Okay, so this is how we build a trust ladder. So if you think back to previous videos, we talked about this difference between a funnel and a flywheel, being that funnels, we're asking people to make these giant trust leaps, these huge leaps in trust, going from just a stranger to a lead where we've collected their information and details, and then we're selling them on, yeah, give us thousands of dollars because we'll help you, I promise, and then turning them into a case study. Whereas with flywheels, what we're doing is we're just doing it in a way smaller step fashion. So we just take people from being a stranger to a follower, from a follower to a lead, to a lead, to a customer, to a customer, to a high ticket client, and then onto a case study. So we are making people make much smaller trust leaps. That's the main difference. And it's, again, the difference between sales-based conversion and marketing-based conversion. And I have a preference, and that is marketing-based conversion, as you can see. And I came up with this idea, by the way. So if it's bullshit, you can just blame me, okay? Okay, so these are what I call trust transactions. They are in our world, they're called BTC, or behind the curtains offers. Now, I'm gonna get you to make a vow. I need you to vow that I shall no longer create extra shit to sell. I shall sell the shit I already have. Can you make that promise to me? Let me show you what that means. So in the last couple of weeks, I have sold public seats for private workshops that I'm doing with my clients. So I'm giving people an opportunity to peek behind the curtains. That's why it's called a behind the curtains offer. And in the last few weeks, I've managed to drive an additional $6,000 in additional cash flow from opening seats to stuff that I was already doing for my clients. That's insane. And not only that, we take that a level further. Once we've done and delivered those workshops, we can bundle them into one-time purchase products. That's why I really like Skool for this, is that you can payment gate this stuff. And just in a weekend, I did a 48-hour promo saying, hey, you can get stuff like, half price or whatever for 48 hours. And I got $1,500 in additional cash flow in just a weekend. It paid for my activities that weekend. So behind the curtains offers are the best way to get people from becoming a lead to a customer to a high ticket client. And there is a huge link here between the number of people that kind of take these, do these courses, buy these products of mine, and then become clients. It's a huge percentage. So here's how to create content that actually converts. So to create conversion content, you need to create content that must shift beliefs in your prospects' minds. So why is that? Because when you manage to shift a prospect's beliefs to align with yours, they buy, okay? And how do you do this? By creating various forms of conversion content that I call sales assets. And here's how I define a sales asset. So a sales asset is a piece of content that simultaneously drives traffic and converts traffic by showcasing your skills, expertise, story, passion, or knowledge, building reciprocal equity with your audience, and critically shifting beliefs to align with yours. That is what I call a sales asset. And there are 5 main types of sales assets. There are case studies, there are testimonials, there's your thesis, so talking about your unique mechanism. There's then demonstrations showing that you're actually an expert and you can do what you say you do. And then there's interviews. So you can interview people within your niche, within your market, and you can hijack authority and credibility doing that. So those are the 5 main sales assets that I've used on my YouTube channel. You can go back and see all of them. And here's a simple framework that I use every single time I make a long form piece of content. I go through this like mini checklist. So firstly, reminding people of your story. Secondly, clarifying the problem. Thirdly, expanding on the symptoms of the problem. Fourthly, elaborate on how the symptoms can negatively affect the life of the prospect. 5 is clarify the features used to solve the problem. 6 is share the benefits of solving the problem. And then 7 is share the effects of the benefits of solving the problem. So that is my very simple 7-step framework that I use to create sales assets. Now the strategy here is your content must shift beliefs in your prospect's mind, but it also must make you relatable. If you're not relatable, they will not trust you. They will not seem like, okay, that's a trustworthy person if they don't know who you are. So that is the key to trust. The key is to find out a way to get people to be thinking like you as a friend. So how the fuck do we do that? Well, we do that with this framework. So there's the GAP framework. So we use 3 types of content here. We use growth content to get new eyeballs on our stuff. This is how we drive attention. We then use authority and personal content to drive conversion. Personal content is all about relatability. Authority content is all about trust. Okay, and so you need those 2 factors to drive and actually get conversion. Now here is my 2-step formula on how to build homeboy level trust. The first one is called the authority diamond, where we're looking at 5 things. You need to dot this stuff throughout your content so you can end up having followers think of you like Joey and Chandler from Friends. This is homeboy level trust building. Okay, so there's 5 things we look at. Number 1 is strengths. What are you good at? What are you actually above average at? What are your passions? What are the things you love doing outside of the main stuff that you talk about? What are your beliefs? Where do you have convictions on things? And this is like, okay, I sit on this side of the fence and I am not gonna sit on that side of the fence. What this does is this builds an us versus them dynamic. This is a critical secret of some of the biggest kind of like cult brands out there, is saying, this is what we do, that's what they do, we do not do what they do. And that's why you have to have beliefs, opinions, and be a contrarian. Next up, we've got habits. What are your habits that you do day in, day out? This is the mundane stuff, okay? And this is actually the stuff which people care about. This is why behind the scenes content works really well, because people want to see, okay, what are the behind the scenes, like what does a day in the life look like for you? And then finally, we've got vices. This is the one that people miss out all the time. So for example, for me, I love to drink beer. That's one of my vices. I also like to have, don't tell my mum, the occasional cigarette. I know, right? Can you believe it? Those are my vices, as well as some other stuff, okay? But I can't talk about that stuff there, right? But we have to have these 5 things covered off. And then once you've got those, we're gonna build these out into the cult brand blueprint, okay? So there are 3 main sections here. The first is telling people about your world. And in your world, just like Friends, the characters in Friends, we have all of these different elements. So in the world, it's made up of sets. Where do you hang out? What are the different areas that you go work, live, like play? Like if you work in a city, if you live in a city, that is going to be unique and interesting to some other people who don't live there. So it may sound dumb, but it's like, yeah, you actually just show where you live. Then we have your conviction. This is all about your unique mechanism and how you do things differently to other people. So this is the conviction in your methods. So that makes up your world. Next up, we've got story. So this is made up of your journey and your results. This is how you build relatability, by saying, hey, I've come from here, and these are all the like kind of little speed bumps that I had to go through to get the result that you actually help people with. That's how we build stories that people can relate to. Finally, we've got proof, and this is made up of your transformation and your identity. Remember when we talked about kind of like sitting on one side of the fence and we were like, this is what we do and that's what they do, having an us versus them dynamic, actually having enemies that you throw rocks at verbally through your copy and tell people about. That's how we do that. And so we do that through proving that we've been on that journey and proving that we've actually become this identity. Okay, and then all of those things make up our cult brand blueprint. I do have another long video on my YouTube channel that you can go check out after this. And this is how I'm thinking about kind of building this stuff out into what I call my universe. I think I should get some sort of award from YouTube for that, because I think that's unbelievable, to be honest. I think that's absolutely insane. Just another one of the nuggets that I've come out with. I won't charge for that, don't worry. So anyway, this is what I'm doing. So I've got 4 channels that I'm going to be building. Number 1 is this channel, the Tom Young's channel. This is going to be curated business and lifestyle content to help build relatability and trust, as well as credibility. Then we've got the Tom Young's podcast. Now this is going to be a different channel on YouTube where I'm going to be doing raw content, lifestyle content that's a bit more kind of like dynamic and raw, random stuff, interviews with my clients, interviews with other creators in my niche to help build, again, just this next level kind of like authority within the space that I operate in. I'm gonna dump all of that stuff onto my Scale podcast on Spotify. So Spotify for me is just another distribution channel. So I know that there are people in my audience who prefer to listen to Spotify or listen to stuff on Spotify, long form content on Spotify, than they do listen to it or watch stuff on YouTube. So I just wanna give people that opportunity. I literally had a new client join me who said, I'm not going to watch your YouTube, but I've listened and binged all of your stuff on your podcast channel. So you just go and you just upload the same videos to the podcast channel. Super easy. And then finally, we've got kind of a specialist channel. This is going to be my Tom Young's golf channel over here. And that will just be me just doing my fun stuff. And ultimately what I'm aiming to do is I'm going to have my Scale podcast on Spotify. And that's going to essentially be like Hormozy is the game, where he just posts all of his content. It just goes all on there. And I think that's an amazing setup in my universe. So the key ideas here, number 1, you need to give your new audience members the opportunity to spend time with you and binge your content like Netflix. That is the key to growing fast on YouTube. That's what I'm going to be going all in on this channel in 2025. You need to build reciprocal equity by growing your reciprocity bank account by depositing long-form sales assets that will compound over time. That is a financial analogy. That is not financial advice though. You need to be there when it's now. It could be one day. I signed 2 clients who kind of joined within the first couple of days, who binged my stuff over a weekend. And then I've also had someone who joined last week who I first spoke to 9 months ago. So it doesn't matter. In our flywheel, just be there when it's now. And then finally, create a universe of long form content and use the authority diamond and the cult brand blueprint to build unrivaled trust, credibility, and relatability with your audience. Right, champs, if you found that valuable, and I sure as shit know you did, you better not miss the next episode where I'm going to be answering a question that I get asked all the time. How do I close in the DMs without sales calls? Well, I'm finally going to reveal the answer, so make sure you've hit the subscribe button and turned on notifications so you don't miss out on that. And if it's out, you can watch that here right now. I mean, if you haven't subscribed already, why? Do you not want to get intellectually jacked? Do you not want to get next level mind swole so that you can also build a business that allows you to get paid for saying whatever the fuck you want on the interweb? Yeah, I thought so. So slap the sub button. If anything, it'll make my mum proud for once. And after you've done that, I've got a gift for you. I've curated all of the key resources that I've used to grow to over 17,000 subs here on my YouTube channel, and I've put them together in a free mini course called the YouTube Accelerator inside my free community. So make sure you join us down there below, it's in the description. And right, champs, that was sick, and I'll see you in the next one.